Hi everyone, it's Allie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a fun video for you in collaboration with Katharine Kelly and Sharon Luska. We are going to be looking at some alcohol ink lift techniques today. So for my first one there, I have the Brutus Monroe-Vintage floral background, and I have a rainbow alcohol ink background that I had in my stash from the last time I played with alcohol inks. So I went ahead and pulled that out, and for my first card I just wanted to play with just the alcohol lift ink that Tim Holtz came out with. So as you see, it kind of colored my stamp there. But it was no big deal. It works, you know, as it normally does. I tried cleaning it off, but I think it's just stained, which is fine. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'm going to show you all these different panels I made. And then at the end, I will show you pictures of all the cards I eventually made with them. So this is, I had to find my daughter's protractor. And it's all kind of sparkly because there's like glue, sparkly glue all attached to it, but is the only protractor I could find in my house. So first I pulled out a piece of HP photo paper because I wanted to see if any of these techniques would work on that. And then I'm going to pull out a piece of the Yupo. So for this technique, it was basically inspired by a Jennifer McGuire video, which I will put in the description box. And I bought some alcohol pearl inks because I did not have any, and when she was playing with them they looked like so much fun and they were really pretty. So I did just buy those three there. They are called Enchanted, Villanious, and Envy. And they are really pretty colors, but they're very light, so they're kind of soft. I went over it a few times and it got darker, but I did have to play with it a while. Now on this HP photo paper, you'll see there, it started to scratch the surface of the paper. So then I pulled out my Yupo and I started playing on there, and I just had so much fun with this. But I kept, every time I would squeeze those bottles or squeeze the alcohol solution, blending solution on top of it, like I was spraying it all over my desk. I don't understand if I was just pressing really hard or what I was doing, but I was just making such a total mess. So this one came out though much better. Like it blends so much nicer on the actual Yupo paper. Now I have used the HP paper for just making alcohol ink backgrounds, but it wasn't like I was really, I like to make circles and just drop the stuff on and move it around very lightly. So before I wasn't really pressing that hard, and I think that was the difference. Like it could only take so much blending before the paper's gonna tear. So with that background, I did dry it and I pulled out my Concord and 9th vintage flower, and I wanted to stamp that on one half of it, and then I'm going to end up cutting it in half and doing something with the other end. So I pulled out my Simon Says Stamp Fine Detail White Embossing Powder, and I was thinking about doing her technique where you take some isopropyl alcohol and lift some of that ink up off of a stamped image. This one didn't work that well for that because even though I used the fine detail, it didn't leave me much room, I guess, to lift that ink off. So that one I'm basically going to leave as is. So now this card, I heat embossed the Brutus Monroe Vintage floral background, and I used a pearly, it was just pearl white gloss embossing powder. And if I can talk today, I put on a new piece of felt, and I started using the same colors that I had out, and I added in an orange. Well, I started doing this and I did not like it. The colors are just not my happy colors. So then I decided I'm going to pull out some more colors of my regular alcohol inks. And I wanted to pull in some blue and then get some more pink and purple and some green in there. So I went back and forth on this a ton to try to get the look I was going for. And I just love that paper. It just, you can start over and start over and start over, and it just works so well. So I'm just going to keep working at it until I love the result and the colors that I get. And then this one too, I'm gonna end up drying it, and then I'll come back to it later on. And this is one of those that I'm actually gonna use that isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going to lift the ink from that stamp, like the inside of the stamp, and I am going to color another image with it. So that was my most favorite, I have to say, because I do love coloring. So this one, I really, really, really love how it came out. And once I I just played and played. And I did, by the way, I did this on my glass mat. And I don't know if you're supposed to or not, but I ended up not pulling out one of my other mats, and it came off just fine. I used a little sanitizer and isopropyl alcohol, and it came off perfect. So I was very happy about that. So here is another background that I had left over. And in Jennifer McGuire's video, she would spray some of that isopropyl and then send it through the machine. Now, she didn't do an embossing folder, which I don't know, maybe she did in another video, but I really wanted to see how that would work, if I can get that pattern on there and then also lift the ink. So that is what I did, and it worked perfectly. I had kind of a thin piece on top of it, but it came out beautiful. There was my original pattern, panel, and this is my new panel. So that worked perfect. And then my next card, so I grabbed another one there, and I used the Hero Arts Bug Collection background stamp. And I thought this would be a good card, masculine or feminine. And I stamped that on there. Again, I used it was like a glossy, clear embossing powder. And I'm going to heat set that. And then I'm going to do the same technique where I put it through my spellbinders. Now, she just put an extra piece of the cardstock on top that you're going to lift that ink to, but I ended up using some of my printer paper and putting it around there. And the only reason why I did that was because I just was worried about it getting all over my machine, and if it got in my machine and having to clean all that up. So I was just kind of protecting that. I love my machine, and it's new, and it kind of scared me to put it through there. So, but I figured, okay, I will try this. So it did protect it. It did get a little bit on my plates, but I was able to get it off very easy. So I'm glad I didn't have a huge mess all over them, because I love my plates. I think they are such a fun color. So I sprayed that on there. And for this one, I actually think I like the lifted ink panel better than I did the original. So I'm just going to finish with that panel. And this next one here, I again just heat embossed using some Simon Says Stamp Navy Fine Embossing Powder. And that was another Hero Arts background stamp. Now that one I will have to find and put in the description box below. For some reason I don't have the packaging, so I must have ripped it. I know it is a current stamp with them because I want to say that I bought it last year, so I believe it's still on their website. So that one too is one of my favorites. When I put that through the machine, it came out really neat. All right, so now this next one. This one I pulled this one is what? Altenew-Statement flowers. And I'm, again, just going to heat and emboss there. This is one of them that I thought that I would use the isopropyl marker that I made for. I ended up just using it on the leaves. I don't know, I just didn't like how it was coming out on the new card, so I decided just to leave that one alone. And I really like the background on that card, so I just left it as is. So I'm not one who does a ton of playing with alcohol inks or backgrounds, so this is kind of new to me. I do have a video up on my channel that was an alcohol ink video that I did the first time. A lot of these panels is actually from that video that I'm pulling from. My daughter and I had a alcohol ink session and it was really fun. I don't pull them out a ton. When I do enjoy it, but I don't know. I feel like I need to make them into cards quickly. So I usually don't sit down and make a ton of them, but when I do, I figured I was here, so I might as well play with them and see what I can come up with. So this was the other portion of that panel that I did with the protractor. And for this one, I pulled out the Pinkfresh Simple Blossom stamp set. And I went back to trying my alcohol lift ink to see what kind of impression I could get with this one. And it was very light, but this one I am going to do twice. And there I pulled out another piece of the HP paper because you're supposed to be able to lift that ink and then put it onto a non-porous surface. So it didn't work well with that. So I decided on the next stamping to pull out some more Yupo and see if I could get more of an impression on there. So it came out a lot better there, better than it did with the more bright panel that I did with the rainbow, which was kind of surprising. I thought that one would have came out a little bit more, but I wonder if because the lines of that stamp are so thin. So here's the Yupo paper. It really didn't come out that great. And again, I don't know if maybe because it was just such a pastel colors that I used, but maybe if I used those thicker stamps on the darker bright, it would have lifted a little bit better. But you know, that's what I'm here to do, play and see what I can get out of these. So now I'm just gonna clean those off, and I'm going to this too, before I forget, I did make this into a larger card because the pieces of Yupo paper here I have are larger and I didn't want to cut too much of that off. So some of these cards are going to be like 5.5 by 5.5, and then some of them are going to be the regular 4.25 by 5.5. So here is where I have that marker. And this was totally Jennifer McGuire inspired. And this, I think, was my favorite part of the whole thing. I love how these two cards came out. And I loved coloring, so which is typical for me because I love to color. But it really was neat to take that and color the same images. I used one of my Pinkfresh Studios I think it's called Morning Mist ink, and it's a really light gray. I wanted to do like almost like a no line coloring. I love how this came out. It was meant to look like more watercolory, just flowy, you know, easy, nothing too, what do I want to say? I didn't want it to look, I wanted to have it look like a watercolor. It's getting too late here for me. It's like after midnight. I'm tired. I apologize. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But I really love how both of these panels came out. I love the colors, how they came out. They were perfect. I should have just stopped there. But this was a really fun part of it. I can see myself doing this again. I really enjoyed that. And I did not use Yupo. I just used like a heavy cardstock that I would use for Copic coloring. And I didn't, you know, you couldn't really blend too much because once you put it on there, it basically dried. But still, I mean, I was able to get like a loose watercolor out of it, and I really had a lot of fun. I think it came out really pretty, so I would try that again. And I'm not going to show you all of my coloring here, just a little bit of it, since this video is already pretty long. But I would, if you guys have not tried this, try it. It was so much fun. I did buy my that empty marker there from Hobby Lobby, and I used a coupon, so it was fairly cheap to do that, and I already had the isopropyl alcohol at home. So here I decided not to lift a lot of that. I'm just going to do the leaves, and my little kitty there decided that he was not moving no matter what I did, so I had to just make sure I kept his tail out of the way. But he's so funny. He's like my little buddy at night. So I'm going to show you some images of what I did with these cards. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you try it for yourself. Let me know down in the comments if you have any favorites. Again, I used the sentiments just from the stamp sets that I had used to make the cards. So thank you for joining me again. Please check out Katharine Kelly's and Sharon Luska's videos, since we were collaborating together on this, and check out what they did. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you again soon. Bye.